Did you know that 75% of adults over 50 struggle with high blood pressure? Yet most of us don't realise that high blood pressure is silently stealing years off our lifespan. Welcome again to Peace Unplugged. We'd all like to live a bit longer, right? Today, I'm going to examine the subject of longevity and ways we can possibly add years to our lifespan. Once I reached age 50, I started to have problems with high blood pressure. Through some research, I've discovered some natural ways to manage this. I'll explain this through some hypothetical stories recommended by doctors. So the stories are based on some actual data. Before I begin this, just a little bit of a safety warning. Please consult your doctor first if you have any concerns about high blood pressure. Do that before diving into any of the examples that I'm explaining later on in this podcast. Right, let's start with Sarah's story. At 52, she felt fine and energetic. She had no complaints. But during a routine checkup at her doctor's, she discovered some concerning news. Her blood pressure reading was 150 over 95. That put her into stage 2 hypertension. And she said, "But I feel completely normal." Here's the important point about blood pressure after age 50. It's called the silent killer, and for good reason. Arteries are stiffening, the heart's working overtime, but we won't notice it until something serious happens. Here's what terrified Sarah and should concern anybody aged over 50. Uncontrolled blood pressure doesn't just increase heart attack risk. It accelerates what's known as cognitive decline. It damages kidneys. It impairs our vision. And it literally shortens what's called your telomeres. That's the protective cap on DNA. It determines how fast we age at a cellular level. Every year with high blood pressure is like putting our body through an aging accelerator. Like myself, you end up on lifelong medication, and the side effects of that are fatigue and dizziness, and effectively a reduced quality of life. But here's the breakthrough that Sarah discovered, and what the longevity research reveals. Lifestyle interventions can be easily as effective as medication, and they come with these side effects. You'll actually get more energy, better sleep, and sharper thinking, as well as genuine vitality. Within 6 months, Sarah's blood pressure dropped to 118 over 76 without medication. More importantly, she felt better at 53 than she did at age 45. That's like kind of age reversal, isn't it? Here's a little bit more detail now in another story. Tom is age 58 and he loves his meat and potato diet. Kind of a standard diet for some people, don't you think? Nothing too extreme. His blood pressure had crept up. That was 145 over 92 over several years. His doctor mentioned the DASH diet, but he dismissed it as just rabbit food. Then his brother, age 60, had a stroke. At that point, Tom got a bit serious. He needed to understand how food intake impacts on blood pressure, as well as longevity. Here's what we don't realise with the typical Western diet. It creates a perfect storm for hypertension. Excess sodium pulls water into the bloodstream. That increases volume and pressure. Processed foods cause inflammation in the arterial walls. That makes them stiff and narrow. Low potassium intake means the body can't balance the sodium. Low magnesium disrupts the relaxation of blood vessel walls. Meanwhile, oxidative stress from lack of antioxidants damages the delicate linings of our arteries. You see, it's not one thing, it's a number of nutritional deficiencies that are working against us. Now, Tom developed what's known as the longevity plate. First, he loaded his plate with colourful vegetables. They're rich in nitrates and potassium. These naturally dilate the blood vessels. So we're looking at the likes of beetroot, leafy greens, and berries. Secondly, he added fatty fish 3 times a week. That's omega-3s that reduce inflammation and improve arterial elasticity. Thirdly, he incorporated nuts, particularly walnuts and almonds. Now, I suggest if you're doing that, just check that you haven't got a nut allergy. Studies show that these nuts can reduce systolic blood pressure by between 5 to 7 points. Fourthly, Tom cut processed foods, reduced sodium from 4,000 milligrams daily to 1,500 milligrams daily. And finally, he added dark chocolate. Yes, I said chocolate, dark chocolate. That's packed with 70% of cocoa. Cocoa is good for your heart. It improves circulation and helps to lower what's known as bad cholesterol. Within 4 months, Tom's blood pressure had reduced to 125/80. He gained more energy and his brain fog lifted. So what are the key insights here? The right food isn't just fuel, it's medicine for your cardiovascular system. Now let's meet Linda, age 61. She believed that exercise meant grueling gym sessions and she dreaded those. With high blood pressure at 148/94 and also arthritic knees, she felt trapped. She said, "I'm too old and broken to do exercise properly." This limiting belief keeps millions of people aged over 50 from accessing the single most powerful longevity intervention available. That is appropriate movement. Now here's the cruel irony. Traditional exercise advice given to older adults is often wrong. High intensity interval training, this can be too stressful on our aging cardiovascular system and on our joints. Marathon running, that means excessive cortisol production, and that can naturally increase blood pressure. No exercise at all, that's just going to cause arterial stiffness. It'll make the muscle mass decline, and also metabolic health will collapse. Meanwhile, the body's craving movement, the wrong type of movement, can result in injury, and that will cause inflammation and result in cardiovascular strain rather than healing. Linda discovered what's called the Goldilocks zone. That's exercise for blood pressure when you're over 50. First of all, she started walking 30 minutes every day at a moderate pace. Studies show this can reduce blood pressure by 8 to 10 points, whilst improving arterial flexibility. Secondly, she added resistance training. That's twice a week using light weights and bodyweight exercises. This preserves muscle mass. It acts as a metabolic sink for blood sugar and it improves insulin sensitivity. This is crucial since insulin resistance drives hypertension. Third, Linda incorporated 10 minutes of stretching and mobility work. This activates the parasympathetic nervous system and reduces stress hormones. Fourth, she tried something unexpected. That is isometric exercises. Hold a wall or plank for 2 minutes. Doing this 3 times weekly as shown in recent studies to reduce blood pressure, and that is more effectively than traditional cardio. Finally, she started swimming once a week. That's known to have zero impact on joints, and it's full body engagement. Hydrostatic pressure actually helps train the blood vessels to regulate more efficiently. 6 months later, Linda's blood pressure was 122/78. And she'd lost 18 pounds in weight. She felt stronger and more capable than she had in 20 years. The lesson here is that exercise after age 50 doesn't have to be intensity. It's about consistency. It's about variety and choosing movements that heal rather than harm. Now let's move on to David. David's 55 and he prides himself on the fact that he only needs 5 hours sleep every night. He jokes that sleep is for the weak, and he powers through his working day with coffee. On a routine check with his doctor, his blood pressure was 152/96, and that's despite medication. He ate relatively well. He exercised regularly, but he couldn't understand why his blood pressure wouldn't go down. His doctor asked one simple question: "How's your sleep?" David dismissed this as irrelevant. That was a big mistake. Personally, I reflect on all those long hours I used to work on night shifts. I now believe that likely had a profound effect on my health. Here's the hidden connection most people over 50 miss. Inadequate sleep is a blood pressure disaster. When we don't get 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep, several catastrophic processes occur. Our sympathetic nervous system stays activated. That keeps us in a perpetual fight or flight mode. Cortisol levels remain elevated throughout the day. The body produces less nitric oxide. That's the molecule that keeps blood vessels relaxed and dilated. Inflammatory markers spike. The kidney retains more sodium. More critically, the blood pressure doesn't experience the 10 to 15% dipping that should occur during deep sleep. This is one of the strongest predictors of heart attack and stroke risk. David was literally preventing his body from repairing every single night. So what did David do? He committed to sleep hygiene optimization. First of all, he started going to bed at 10:30 every night and committing to a 6:30 a.m. wake time. This circadian rhythm consistency is crucial for blood pressure regulation. He made sure his room was dark and cool at night time, with a temperature rating of between 65 to 68 degrees. This promotes deep sleep and melatonin production. Next, he avoided blue screens at least 90 minutes before going to sleep. You see, blue light suppresses melatonin and it delays the onset of sleep. And yes, you know this is coming from me. He added in a 10-minute meditation practice each night using deep breathing exercises. Specifically, that is the 4-7-8 technique. This activates the vagus nerve and it shifts our nervous system into parasympathetic mode. The fifth thing that he did was add supplements. That's 400 milligrams of magnesium glycinate, which helps relax blood vessels and improves sleep quality. Within 8 weeks, David's blood pressure reduced to 128/82. He felt more energized. So that 7 hours worth of sleep rather than 5 hours plus coffee made a significant difference to him. He discovered that recovery isn't passive, it's active and intentional, and is absolutely essential for cardiovascular health and longevity. Finally, meet Robert, who's aged 67. His blood pressure is 158/98, and he's on 3 medications, and he's feeling defeated. He said, I've tried everything. He had in fact tried many things, but never all at once, and never with the understanding on how they work. He'd do the DASH diet for a month, then give it up. He'd exercise for a few weeks, then he'd stop. He'd focus on his sleep pattern for a while, then he'd slide back. These are isolated interventions without integration. Here's the hard truth about longevity after age 50. There's no single silver bullet. There's no magic supplement. There's no perfect diet. There's no exercise routine that will work in isolation. Your cardiovascular system is complex. It responds to nutrition, to movement, it responds to stress, to sleep, and to social connection, and even your sense of purpose. Trying to fix high blood pressure with just one intervention is like trying to fly a plane with only one wing. We need all the systems to work together, and here's what makes it harder. Our modern world is designed for convenience, not health. Every environmental factor conspires against our blood pressure. There's processed food everywhere, sedentary jobs. There's artificial light that disrupts sleep. Chronic stress just gets normalized as part of hustle culture. Social isolation is increasing. Fighting hypertension after 50 means deliberately constructing a longevity lifestyle in a world built for premature aging. Robert committed what is known as the Longevity Integration Protocol. He didn't try to change everything overnight. That's a recipe for failure. Instead, he built one habit at a time over 6 months. Month 1, he established a sleep routine and a walking habit. Month 2, he overhauled his nutrition intake using the longevity plate principles. Month 3, he added resistance training and stress management. Month 4, he improved his social connections and his purpose-driven activities. You see, studies show that loneliness increases blood pressure. Month 5, he added omega-3s, CoQ10, and magnesium as supplements. And month 6, he fine-tuned the above and maintained it. The results? Robert's blood pressure dropped to a healthy 118/75. He's living proof of what longevity science shows. Aging after 50 isn't a gradual decline. You manage it. It's an opportunity to build the healthiest version of yourself. Your biological age doesn't have to equal your chronological age. With the right interventions, you can literally turn back your vascular clock by at least a decade or maybe more. So here's 5 solutions to consider. Adopt the longevity plate nutrition strategy. Fill your plate with colourful vegetables, potassium-rich vegetables. Eat fatty fish 3 times a week. Incorporate some daily nuts. Of course, assuming you don't have a nut allergy. Reduce sodium intake to under 1,500 milligrams. Add some dark chocolate that's got 70% cocoa in it. This addresses the root causes of hypertension while providing antioxidants and anti-inflammatory compounds for your aging cardiovascular needs. Number 2, practice the Goldilocks zone exercises. That's walking 30 minutes a day at a moderate pace. Add in some resistance training twice a week using appropriate weights. Incorporate 10 minutes of daily stretching. Try isometric holds, that's wall sits and planks. Do that 3 times weekly. Add in some low impact full body activity. For instance, swimming. This will improve your arterial flexibility and it will preserve your muscle mass. It'll enhance metabolic health without stress. Number 3, optimize sleep recovery. Establish some consistent sleep and wake times, 7 to 9 hours per night. Make the bedroom dark and cool. Eliminate screen time for up to 90 minutes before. Practice 10 minutes of deep breathing and meditation. Consider magnesium glycinate supplementation. Quality sleep allows your blood pressure to dip naturally, and that allows your body to repair. Number 4, manage stress through nervous system regulation. Use the 4-7-8 breathing technique. That is, inhale for 4 counts, hold for 7 counts, and exhale for 8 counts. Regular breaks through the day for brief walking and stretching. Consider a journaling practice and minimize exposure to chronic stresses where possible. Keeping your sympathetic nervous system in check prevents the stress hormones from keeping your blood pressure elevated. Number 5, build in some integration rather than isolation. Don't tackle everything at once. Build 1 habit per month over 6 months. Stack up those healthy behaviors. Morning walks plus meditation. Track your progress. Essentially work with your healthcare provider. Make sure that medications are adjusted appropriately where they need to. Allow lifestyle changes take good effect. Connect with others to pursue these goals. Sustainable change comes from gradual integration of all these 5 pillars: nutrition, movement, sleep, stress management, and social connection. This information is provided as a general guide. Please consult your doctor for medical advice if you have concerns about your blood pressure, and do that before diving into any of the examples above. I'm sure if you share that information with your doctor, he will support those elements of that advice appropriately. Thanks for listening again to Peace Unplugged. Take care of yourselves. Martin.